What's going on, everybody? Let's Talk Jets Radio. It's late night. I had to record another video with all the different reports that have come out about how this firing of Robert Saleh went down today, or yesterday now, I should say. And, McAfee tomorrow is going to be very interesting with Aaron Rodgers. I think he's supposed to be on a little after 12 tomorrow. But there's a lot of this that I think some fans are overlooking, and some things that many fans rightfully are pointing out. Um, that's kind of getting lost in the firing of Saleh, where it seems like it's this giant celebration right now, and there's this assumption that everything's automatically going to be fixed. You change the leadership at the top, and everything else is going to trickle down. And certainly that's a possibility. I think Ulbrich definitely can provide a spark, like Woody Johnson was saying, but there are many things that we're overlooking as fans, and that I think the organization is also overlooking. When you look at how this firing went down, and starting with the fact that Woody Johnson made it essentially stepping over everybody's toes. By all indications, Joe Douglas was not involved with this at all. He was not even a part of the meeting that Christopher Johnson and Woody Johnson had with Saleh when he showed up at the facility. Douglas was not even present for that meeting with Saleh. So if we're supposed to believe all this shit about the reporting structure, that was supposedly changed like 2 or 3 years ago. I don't even remember the date anymore, but it was told to us that Saleh reports to Joe Douglas reports to ownership. Yet here we are again talking about our owner deciding to meddle in player personnel decisions and coaching decisions, and whether or not it was the right call, I think, is irrelevant. If you had legitimately changed the reporting structure to Saleh to Douglas, Douglas to Johnson, if you're Johnson and Douglas is not coming to you saying we need to make a change here with this head coach, which clearly wasn't happening, well, you do one of two things. You either trust your GM or you fire both of them. So then I look at the other part of this where I feel like this is almost just kind of a half measure, where you have a second ranked defense right now, you have a 22nd ranked offense. How do you think the players on the defensive side of the ball are feeling? Obviously, Ulbrich is getting promoted, but your defensive minded head coach ultimately just got fired. Now think about that. Your defensive minded head coach, and again, he doesn't get a pass because you're a head coach, you're a coach of the entire team. You don't get a pass for the offensive side of the ball. But how is it that when you're a defensive minded head coach and your defense is playing well and your offense is ranked 27th and nobody gets fired there? And then you hear all this stuff coming from Woody Johnson that he apparently talked to Aaron Rodgers the night before, but that nothing was mentioned at all about firing Robert Saleh, and that this was strictly a Woody Johnson decision that he made all on his own. I find that very hard to believe. I find it very, very hard to believe. To me, this sounds like Woody Johnson is covering for Aaron Rodgers, and I hate to say that because I love Rodgers to death, and ultimately, he's been around long enough now where if he feels like Saleh's not the guy, and he gave Woody Johnson a little nudge, I'm not entirely upset by it. But what I think looks awful, and I hope doesn't divide the locker room, but I feel like it could, is if players are starting to realize that Rodgers just threw Saleh under the bus. If that's how it went down, I'm not sure if it is. It could all be Woody Johnson. But regardless, your head coach just kind of got thrown under the bus when there's many people that we could throw under the bus, many people that we could blame, many others that could be blamed on the offensive side of the ball that are still employed, that still have their jobs. And again, apparently Ulbrich is capable, if he wants to, of changing play callers. Apparently he's not going to strip anybody of their titles, but he may demote Nathaniel Hackett the same way that apparently Robert Saleh was considering doing about 5 minutes before he got fired. So while I'm not disagreeing with the premise of the decision, because ultimately I feel like it was something that needed to happen, I said it in my first video, such a likable guy. It legitimately pained me hearing all the stuff throughout the day that came out. I was not rooting for this guy to get fired by any stretch of the imagination. I did not want to see him fail. But more and more, it was becoming obvious that this guy was in over his head. The team was not showing progress, and this was not a head coach that was going to be capable of helping you to win those big games down the stretch. He had too many shortcomings as a head coach, where this team was just constantly in an uphill battle trying to overcome those shortfalls. So a move, I think, had to be made. I would have given him the Buffalo game. I thought this was the week that you make a change with the offensive staff, whether it's Keith Carter, whether it's Nathaniel Hackett, promoting Downing, whatever you want to do. This was the week to change something on the offensive side of the ball because that is what has been the biggest problem for this team so far. So the fact that Saleh got the axe, didn't even get a chance to talk to the players on the way out, to me, I'm worried about not necessarily the fact that Saleh was loved and there's this great loss in the locker room, but certainly he had the respect of some individuals in that locker room. Certainly there are some guys on that defensive side of the ball who were reportedly in shock today that are wondering how the hell this coach got fired when nobody got fired on the offensive side of the ball. And that's what bothers me because for all of Saleh's shortcomings and even saying that he deserved to be fired would be correct, I think, based on his record, 20-36, all the double-digit losses that he has, he deserves to be fired. But nobody deserves to be fired more than him, more than Hackett, or Keith Carter, or both of them. So the fact that those two retain their jobs, I worry and I wonder how that's going to play out in the locker room, how that's going to be accepted, if all these guys are just going to be quick to buy in, to follow Hackett and to follow Ulbrich, to follow Rodgers, especially if they feel like he just threw their coach under the bus. And again, how well liked is Saleh, right? You hear the comments from Quincy Williams, after the game about holding players accountable, and they're tired of the same messaging. So I think Saleh had both, his fans, people that enjoyed the way that he ran things, probably not too tough. You don't got to worry about him embarrassing you, but there are other guys that want to win. There are other guys that realize that the window to win in this league is short, and you got to take advantage of it. You got to capitalize on it. And this is a coach that, since they've all been here, has not taken them to where they need to go. It just hasn't happened. So I think there are some people that were probably very upset that, are going to miss him as a person, and others, as my lights go out, and others that are ready to move on and ready to go find a winner. So talk to you guys later. I'm sure I'll have another video tomorrow. Hopefully we have some Devontae Adams news as well. Have a good night. Talk to you guys later.